Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MMA show. Now, we've got UFC 253 this week, which is awesome card. I'm sure everyone has been looking forward to this card, not only just for the main event, but for the co-main as well. This is going to be a very good card. There's some really good fights as well on the prelims. We'll touch into those as we normally just break down the main card or give guesses or predictions, whatever you want to call what we do on this channel. We'll normally pretty much only do it to the main card. If there are a few really good interesting fights on the prelims that maybe should have been on the main card or whatever, give them a shout out. Maybe not a full detail because we want these to be, snappy almost, so people can just get on with their lives. But the first fight on this card is Hakeem Dawodu versus Zabaira Tukhugov, the Russian machine. Now, really interesting fight here because we've got Hakeem here. I apologize if you can hear a click on a mouse right now because I haven't had time to write all my notes down on pen and paper, old school style. So I am using the laptop, which is probably better, but I'll try and use the touchpad as much as I can. Now, right, let's go through Hakeem. Hakeem's 11-1-1. His only loss is to Danny Henry, and it was on his UFC debut, March 2018, in London, England. I remember it because I'm English and we're all over them cards, big time. Danny Henry guillotine choked him in 39 seconds. Now, a lot of that, his camp was saying, I believe, was down to inexperience, you could say, because he had 8 fights at that time. So it's not like he's never had fights. And he came from the World Series of Fighting as well, which is now the PFL, the Professional Fight League, I think it's called. So he's been in a decent organization as well. It's not some layabout organization fighting tin cans as such. He's been gaining experience and really showing himself as a kickboxer. Danny Henry got him in a guillotine choke. Okay. He's got a couple fights on his contract, I'm sure. His next fight out, he came against Austin Armat and won the fight. Decision in Calgary. I'm sorry, I'm paused because I'm trying to think of where it is. I need to actually open where the fights were as well. Yeah, Calgary in Canada. Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I don't know the Alberta part, but I know it's in Canada. He wins by decision. That was on the Alvarez versus Poirier card 2. So he gets the win in the UFC, and then he fights someone that I thought was always a dark horse in the division after I saw him fight Zabit, which is Karl Bochniak. Now, I believe Karl Bochniak fought Hakeem after the Zabit fight. So Karl was looking good in that third round against Zabit. He can take punishment. He's super durable. And Hakeem managed to also beat him at his own game almost. Just dog it out, proper stand-up war. It was really interesting to watch, and he did win by split decision. So I don't know what's happened to Karl since. I'm not sure if he's actually been released by the UFC or not. I hope he hasn't because he's such a badass. After that, he knocks out Hori. Brilliant knockout in the third round as well. So he can go. He goes 3 rounds really comfortably. He got performance of the night. He got a bonus for that one, and after that, he beat Julio Arce by split decision. That was in November 2019. So it's nearly been a year since he's fought. He's on a 4-fight win streak, which is really good. He's only ever taken 1 loss. He's had a draw as well, but that was outside of the UFC. Whereas you come to Zabaira. Now, the first time I properly saw him was against Moicano. He'd had UFC fights before that. He'd had 3 before that, actually. One was dating back to 2014. He's been in the UFC. So in 6 years, he's only had 6 fights, which is quite worrying. 1 fight a year. It kind of reminds me of like Arnold Allen for England. He's probably working on his craft that just, doesn't want to lose, which is really good. But he is a wrestler foremost. He has got striking. He does. He definitely does. But first and foremost, he is a wrestler. And you can tell he's a wrestler when he fought Lerone Murphy. Now, he lost split decision to Moicano. No shame in that. Moicano at the time was going to fight Jose Aldo, I believe, but he ended up fighting Brian Ortega and then was beating Brian Ortega until the last couple of minutes, where he got obviously tapped. When he fought Lerone, Britain's own Lerone, bullet splitter himself, he took Lerone down a bunch. He did. He took him down a bunch. I don't want to say at will because he had to work for it, but it wasn't the hardest thing in the world for him. But he did absolutely nothing with the takedowns, and that's what I'm worried about when he fights someone like Hakeem. He's going to be trying this, but Hakeem he's got to have been working on his takedown defense. He's very similar to the way Lerone Murphy fights. He's a striker. He's a kickboxer. He's going to use the footwork. I really believe that he has got a win after, by the way, Kevin Aguilar. He did beat, but he did knock him out, and that was on the Felder Hooker fight, and that was in February. So he has had 2 fights in the last 12 months so far. So this will be his 3rd fight in a 12-month period, which is really nice to see. I want him to keep doing this. I've got Zabaira winning. Now, I say that just based on, I'm not sure Hakeem can deal with the takedowns as well as Lerone can. He might be able to. And if he can, it's going to make for a really interesting fight. The reach difference is quite substantial. It is 5.5 inches. Work out my quick maths. 5.5 inches difference. Hakeem's got a 5.5 advantage over Zabaira. So I'm going to go with Zabaira, though, just based on a decision win and a lay and pray tactic, a very John Fitch approach to a fight. I do think it could be a snooze fest, but if he can stuff those takedowns, Hakeem can really do some damage, and it'll be a really fun fight. We've got Miss Sijara Eubanks fighting again, who fought a couple of weeks ago on September 12th. She fought on the Waterson Hill card, where she beat Julia Avila. And I bet on her on that fight, and she didn't let me down. This week, I'm not going to bet on her because she's fighting Ketlen Viera, and she deserves this fight because Ketlen's done really well, and she's kind of on a little hype train. She came in 2016, but she's got some really good names on her record. She's got Ashley Evans-Smith on her record. She's got Sarah McMahon on her record. She beat Kat Zingano before she headed out to Bellator on split decision. But she did lose her last fight to Irene Aldana by punches. Now, she did get KO'd. I'm reading it off Wiki now, by the way, which is why I said punches, because I wanted the location placed on it as well. So that's the worrying part for me. Now, I do think Irene hits harder than Sijara, and Sijara is a decision machine. I'm pretty sure she only has like 1 stoppage on her record. 2 stoppages on her record. Out of a 10-fight career, she's gone 8 by decision, it seems. So loss and wins. So, but she's never been finished either. I think Ketlen Viera's striking is a lot crisper. I think her ground game is a lot smoother. She's an absolute beast on the ground. I mean, you only have to look at her submission record, and not so much in the UFC, because it's hard. These women are really tricky with stoppages because the female divisions don't really have a lot of stoppages. So it's kind of hard to bet on them. You have to kind of go with a decision just based on pure sit-down power. And if they're slick on the ground, the stoppages go up, 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 up. Look at the Mackenzie Dern factor. You know, she's got 5 stoppages now, 5 submissions in the UFC out of 6 fights. So it's pretty good. And the 1 loss, obviously. All the fights she's won, she's won. All the fights she's won, she's submitted, rather. Not won, she's won. That makes no sense. I have Ketlen Viera winning this. I think it's going to go to decision. I think she's just going to be a bit too much. I think Sijara, if she wants to keep it standing, if she keeps it standing, I think Sijara could probably pick her off. Just based on raw power. She's a proper heavy style puncher, you know. They've got pretty similar reach, an inch difference. It's not really going to make a difference. But it's kind of a hard fight to do, and I'm a little, not upset, but I'm surprised it's on the main card. I think Sijara was on the main card last time, and I was surprised. So considering you've got Brad Riddle on the prelims, which makes very little sense to me why you'd stick him on the prelims. That guy is such a dark horse. He's going to do some stuff, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, Ketlen Viera by decision for me. Next fight on the card, we got Don't Blink Kaikara France, who is one of my mates' favorite fighter. Since he was on the Ultimate Fighter, he's caught everyone's eye. He must have, and when he didn't win the Ultimate Fighter, it was quite upsetting. I thought he was going to go really far, but I think Brandon Moreno got the contract that when you don't win, someone always gets a contract. But I think Brandon Moreno got that one. Yeah, so when he came into the UFC, he went on a 3-fight win streak, which was fantastic because he was fighting Glory Heroes and Wars and Hex Fight and all these sort of different organizations, just trying to make a name for himself. He fought a lot in China, to be fair, as well. Kaikara France is a kickboxer. He has sensational knockout power for a 125er. He's seriously heavy hands, and not just hands, kicks. He's also got a really good ground game as well. He's really slick on the ground. He's really good on the mat. But when you talk about slick on the mat, how can you not talk about Brandon Royval, the guy that triangle choked Tim Elliott and armbarred Nate Williams? I mean, triangle choking Tim Elliott is no joke. Tim Elliott, granted, the last couple of appearances, he's kind of fallen off the radar now. But when he came back into the UFC through the Ultimate Fighter, on that Ultimate Fighter card, the same one Kaikara France was on, he won it. Tim fought DJ, and he was competitive for a little bit. He went 5 rounds of DJ. DJ obviously just, schooled him, but it was a little competitive. Tim is always a good fighter, and Brandon triangle choked him in round 3, so we know they've both got a tank on them. But I just think Kai's got so much experience on Brandon. I think his ground game is way better than Tim Elliott's. I think Tim Elliott is kind of too loosey goosey and too playful to kind of. It doesn't make much sense. Kind of like a Michelle Pereira. It's like, stop fucking about and just get on with the job now. It's like, how much fun do you have over actual performance? And I feel like some people have too much. Oh, I'm just going to try this, try that. Instead of actually knowing what works, they're just going to try some more stuff. And Tim Elliott's lost a few fights by attempting stuff that clearly doesn't work. Kai's 5 inches shorter, but has a 1 inch reach advantage. I don't think the reach is going to play much. I think it's going to be a standard kickboxing fight. I think if one of them dives to the ground, it's not going to do much. I think they'll both scramble. It'll be a lot of scrambles, a lot of clinching against the fence, and it'll take place on the feet mainly. I see Kai has more power. He has better speed. He has better angles. He cuts the cage off beautifully as well, and he's really good at stalking someone. I can see Kai really stalking Brandon and finishing this fight. And I'm going to say he gets a TKO in round 3. I'm going to go with the Kai France victory for this because I love Kai, and I really do think he's better in pretty much every way. Next fight is, some people are more excited about this one than the main. Not many, but some. Dominick Reyes, the man that apparently got robbed against John Jones. I scored the John Jones-Reyes fight as a draw. I had round 3 even. First 2 to Reyes. You could argue Dom won it more than John. The third round, I scored it as a draw. And then the last 2 were clearly John because Reyes was pretty gassed. Dom is definitely championship worthy. The fact that he took John to more of a razor close decision, in my opinion, than the Gus fight, or maybe as razor close. And he's fighting Jan Blachowicz. Now, the Polish power has got some sensational power, knocking out Corey Anderson, Jacare, and Luke Rockhold in his last 3 fights, 2 in 2019, 1 in 2020. So pretty recent. He lost to Thiago Santos before that, but we know how good Thiago Santos is, and he went on to fight John Jones based on that performance. Before that, he beat people like Nikita Krylov, Jimmy Manuwa, Jared Cannonier at light heavyweight, and Devin Clark. Now, serious names on that record. Now, is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? If he didn't lose to Thiago Santos, he'd be an 8-fight win streak, which is incredible. He's been in the UFC a very long time. He lost to Corey Anderson the first time he ever fought him. He beat Igor, he lost to Gustafsson, lost to Patrick Cummings, and then he kind of just went on this tear where he beat Devin, Jared, Jimmy, Nikita, lost to Thiago, Luke, Jacare, Corey. Now, he has turned a page. He is a serious animal. He is not to be fucked with. Jan is scary. He has some serious power. The punch he sat Corey Anderson down with, come on, that was a sensational blow. Same as Luke Rockhold one, even though Luke Rockhold is known for just sticking his chin in the air. So, that's Jan's skill set as a base. He has got ground game. He has got submissions. I believe he's a black belt as well. I'm just going to double check that before I start swearing. Yeah, he is a black belt under Joe Moreira in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, Dominick Reyes. What can you say about Dominick Reyes? He used to be in the... he could have got into the NFL, I believe. He's also beat Jared Cannonier. I remember when he beat Eubanks by unanimous decision. He beat Volkan Ozdemir. Now, I thought he lost that fight. I thought Volkan won that fight, and that was at UFC London. But he got the win, and sometimes that happens. And then he fought Chris Weidman. I don't know why they matched Chris Weidman with him, because Chris was just... He's way past it. He's too slow, and he went back up to light heavyweight, and he got jabbed in the face and fell over. So, I mean, Dom sat him down. Dom did what he should have done, which is clean out Weidman in a punch, which is perfect. He then fought John. That's his first blemish on his record. You only can fight what is put in front of you. But he has not had like the kind of caliber of fighter that Jan's had, in my opinion. So I think Jan's beaten the better people, clearly. But Dom is on that level for sure. It's going to be a seriously competitive fight. I can see it ending in a knockout. I just have no idea who for. Based on the John Jones fight and the John Jones fight alone, I think if Dom can get it done, it's going to be in the early rounds. If he sorted that cardio out, it's going to be a really scary matchup. But I'm going to give the edge just to Dom based on the John Jones fight, because obviously John Jones is that amazing. So I'm going to have Dominick Reyes, and I'm going to have him TKO Jan in the third as well. Right, let's talk about the main event. We've got the Eraser, the Incredible Hulk, Paulo Costa, Fat Ricky Martin, or Blown Up Ricky Martin, whatever you want to call him. He's definitely not fat. He's quite the opposite. He's Greek god shape versus the last Stylebender, most people's favourite fighter right now. I know a lot of people in the UK absolutely adore him, which is Israel Adesanya. Probably saying his name wrong. What is it? Adesanya. I think he says it. Not even going to attempt to perfect it. Right. Perfect records. 19-0 and 13-0. Last wins. Defended his belt against Yoel Romero. People judge him for that fight. Mate, Yoel didn't even want to take the fight to him. Why the hell is he going to risk that belt? He just smashed up that leg and just bye-bye. Next. Since he's coming to the UFC, he's won 7 fights in a row. I think it's 7. I'm going to say 7. Rob Wilkinson was the first, 12-0. So yeah, he's 7. He's 19-0. Yeah, this is his 8th fight in the UFC, which is pretty insane. That Marvin Vettori fight, I don't think it was split decision, but it showed that he needed to work on his wrestling, and work on his wrestling he did. Brad Tavares, a lot of people have knocked out Brad since Israel, Edmund Shabazian to be one, but he did school him in every single round. Derek Bumson, as he calls him, clean out. Anderson Silva, respect fight. Just a respect fight. He was going to win, passing of the torch fight. They both respected each other. Kind of a gimme fight for him, really. I know that's hard to say against Anderson, but it was. Anderson wasn't trying to take his head off, and he wasn't trying to take his head off. It just kind of seemed like a stalemate, and he just had the edge because they both wanted it. Kelvin Gastelum, fight of the bloody year. That was bloody hell. Kelvin showed that you can catch him. That's what it showed. You can catch him and you can hurt him. And Kelvin, to me, is a fat welterweight. He's the middle ground. A welterweight, maybe not a welterweight, but he needs the in-between round. He needs the 178 kind of weight class. That's what he needs. Because he's too small for welterweight, really, to just like, you put him next to Yoel Romero, they're different species. He then does the best display and the most important win on his record, in my opinion, which is he shut down Robert Whittaker. He knocked him down on the buzzer of the first round and finished him in the second, which was just so good. It was pristine. It was beautiful to watch. The Yoel Romero fight we don't need to talk about because it's just irrelevant right now to me, other than the body shape is pretty similar to Costa. Paulo Costa. Now, this is where I'm going to divide people, because a lot of people think he's too fast, he's too powerful, he's too strong, he's too aggressive for Izzy. Izzy's going to get caught and he's going to get knocked out in one. I've not seen him knock out someone in one punch since he's been in the UFC, Paulo Costa. He's had 5 fights in the UFC. He hasn't knocked out any of them in one punch. It's a barrage of punches. It's an accumulation of power against the fence, and they just cannot move. He has fought Bambozi, not an elite fighter. Gareth McKellen. Okay, in UFC standards, by the way. Getting to the UFC makes you an elite fighter, granted. Now we're in the new territory of elite UFC fighters. These guys are not. Gareth McKellen, not on there. Johnny Hendricks, fat welterweight, moving up to middleweight, and he clearly used to do steroids. Why that was ever put together, I have no idea. Not an impressive victory, in my opinion, when Stephen Thompson made him look silly, like wheel kicking him against the fence. Again, you can only fight what's put in front of you. I get that. He did look good doing it, so that is positive. Uriah Hall. Now, here's where I like this fight against Izzy. Uriah Hall exposed him, the fact that he can hit him so easily with a jab. He busted his face open in the first few minutes in the first round. Just busted him completely open until he kind of got out-pressured and cardioed, and Costa caught him and just really rocked him against the fence and just shut him down. He went down on his knees, I believe, and covered up, and the ref just pulled him off. He also got a decision against Yoel Romero. Now, I had, again, that fight as a draw or a Yoel Romero win. I didn't think he won that, even though he got the unanimous decision. So that's the most impressive fight on the record, is Yoel Romero. It was super competitive, knocking each other down, going nuts each round. Beautiful fight. Fight of the night. Fight of the year candidate. Uriah Hall, he got performance of the night because it was great. But is his record really that outstanding? I don't think it is. I think the body of work Israel has is just miles above. I love watching Paulo Costa fight. I think you'd be mad not to. The inch difference in reach is what's going to play a major factor for me here. It's an 8-inch reach advantage. Now, we all know Izzy used to be a kickboxer and his record is outstanding. He's everything about him. His conditioning is great. So conditioning, his movement is fantastic. His striking is the best in that division. It is. It's just absolutely perfection. He snipes people. He very much a McGregor snipe. He gets called skinny, but he's not skinny. He just doesn't cut from 215 pounds like Costa to 185, or probably even more. He cuts from probably 195. He barely cut. It's not even a cut, really. It's just draining a bit of water on the day before. He walks around at the middleweight limit. He is perfect for that division. He is what you should have. It's what ONE FC do with the hydration tests. The UFC need to do this. You cannot just keep having people kill themselves. How long can Paulo Costa do this before he moves up to light heavyweight? He is a light heavyweight to heavyweight. Why he's killing himself to make middleweight, I have no idea, unless he just wants to be the bigger guy because he feels he can't beat the bigger guys. I think Izzy's got this it's Izzy's fight to lose, in my opinion. If Costa just walks forward like he always does, Izzy will pick him apart. I really don't see how people are going, he's too strong, he's too powerful. Yes, absolutely, he could clip Izzy. He could absolutely clip him. He could really hurt him. And what he has over what Kelvin has, if he clips him, is a finishing ability. When he smells blood, he's a shark. He will not let up. And his cardio is good for 3 rounds. But that's all I'm having. If he cannot get Israel out of there in the first 2 rounds, man, it's going to be a long night for Costa. It really is. I have Izzy winning this quite comfortably. I don't think Izzy's going to finish him. I really don't. I think Izzy's going to win by decision. I think they're going to shake hands at the end of it. And I think Israel will remain 20-0 and the middleweight division champions. And still, another gem in the belt. Now, just before we let this MMA show go, if you do have any questions, by the way, hit me up. If you'd like to actually come on as well and discuss stuff, hit me up as well. Nice to chat with people. Always good. NortonMMA on Twitter. So there's a couple of fights I wanted to go over, and that was Brad Riddle, Alex De Silva, and Diego Sanchez, Jake Matthews. Just a nice little shout out. Jake Matthews is now becoming a man. He doesn't look like a child anymore. And Diego Sanchez is doing his weird spiritual retreat craziness. So I'm going to just give a shout out. I think Jake Matthews is going to quite comfortably beat Diego Sanchez up. I really don't see how Diego's going to go on much longer, especially now he's left Jackson Winklejohn and he's probably got weirdos in his corner. Not to try and slate on the guy, because he's a weird guy, but he's super nice. I'm sure. He only is nice. He's proper creepy, but he's nice. And we all like weird and oddities, so that's good news. Brad Riddle? Sound like Elmer Fudd. Brad Riddle versus Alex De Silva. Great fight. We've got a guy that's quite inexperienced in Brad Riddle versus Alex De Silva, who's very experienced with more than double the fights. Quake Riddle. Yes, he's coming off a win against Mustafayev by decision, and Malarkey as well by decision. His sniping ability while he's standing is extraordinary. He has a very style bender and Kai Kara France. They're all in the same camp. They're all at City Kickboxing in New Zealand, and you can tell. You can really tell. But I think De Silva's fought a lot of tin cans in his record, personally. He got subbed by Yakovlev. I cannot pronounce it. He looks like Moby. But he did beat Vargas on his last time out, all by decision, but he still beat him. I do think Brad Riddle's going to get this. I think it's going to be a proper coming out party. I think he's going to finish him sensationally. I know he's the more inexperienced guy, but them gym hours and the fact that he's fought really good competition and level competition his whole pretty much career is going to stand out to me. I'm going to go Brad Riddle on that one. And I'm going to go the Jake Matthews one as well. They're the little shout-outs as well, just for the prelim fights. I'm really looking forward to this card. It's going to be a really good one. Let me know in the comments, guys, who you think's going to win, who you think's going to lose, if I'm wrong, if you hate me, if you love me. Come join me on social media. Maybe one or two if you want to come on the MMA show as well. We'll have a nice chat. We'll go on Zoom, we'll go on Skype, whatever you want, and we'll get one going. Like the video if you haven't. Subscribe, guys. Please subscribe. Really helps the channel. We're a new channel. We've got some really good feedback on a few videos. And yeah, we'll keep it going. Enjoy the fights, guys. See you later.